This estate sale was definitely home to collectors. As soon as I saw the photos, I knew it would be an awesome treasure hunt. There were cases filled with collectible glass, tons and tons of vintage toys, including Nintendo, and an entire shelf filled with retro board games. I knew this was one estate sale that I had to check out. Welcome back to Textiles and Treasures. If you're new here, I'm Kim, and I love hunting for vintage glassware, retro board games, and anything to do with needlework and fiber arts. As you'll see, I found all of these things at this estate sale. Let's see what I found. What caught my eye most about this estate sale was the wall of vintage board games. I'm always on the lookout for interesting games, and often when I see these photos, it's a chance to do a little research and learn about games that are new to me. One of the things I noticed in the photos that really shocked me was a game called Dark Tower. Dark Tower is an electronic game from the 80s that turns out to be extremely collectible. As soon as I saw how desirable that game was, I knew I had to do my best to try and get it. As it turns out, other people had the same idea. I showed up early, I figured out exactly where the game room was, but there was a mad dash for Dark Tower. The guy who ended up with Dark Tower got a great deal because all of the board games were marked $5. The estate sale company didn't do any research into which ones were more desirable. However, I did manage to get a couple of good games. One of the games I wanted in order to play it was this point blank game. This is an interesting strategy game, and lucky for me, all of the pieces are here. If you're interested in some fun strategy games and puzzles, look for this High Q label. These were a series of games, I believe in the late 70s and early 80s, that are pretty fun and pretty desirable. I know if I were patient, I probably could have found this for a little bit less at a thrift store, but since it was there and it was complete, I decided to get it. This next game isn't actually a game, it is actually an obstacle course called Run Yourself Ragged. Although this was on the shelves, I couldn't see it in the photos, so I hadn't been able to research it. However, when I saw the box, I thought this is interesting and unique, and it's probably fairly desirable. And as it turns out, I was right. This game definitely reminds me of playing pinball games and other fun games in my childhood, and I think this is pretty collectible. As you can see, this is an interesting obstacle course. You use these marbles and you try to complete it as quickly as possible. Here's the timer that you can see at the top. This game is in excellent condition, and I'm glad I picked it up for $5. There were a ton of vintage toys in the game room in the basement, as well as in the garage. However, I really wasn't sure what was worth picking up, so I decided to limit my spending to those two games. While we're talking about games and puzzles, one of the things I decided to pick up was this puzzle box. I wasn't entirely sure what this was. Obviously, you can see it was signed and dated 1996, but I had a feeling that it was a puzzle box. As you can see, you can start to do the puzzle box here, and I did complete it, and then I had trouble reassembling it, so I'm not going to do it for you here on the screen until I get a little better at it. Puzzle boxes are really fun because you have to be patient and play around with them in order to open them. Like most of the things I picked up, this wasn't marked, and I figured this would be fun to try. Near the games, I spotted this adorable kangaroo. As you can see, this is a kangaroo with a little Joey, and it has these rocking feet. I thought this was absolutely adorable, and I always try to pick up interesting critters whenever I see them, so I definitely wanted to get this. On the bottom, you can see that this is marked Japan. When I got this figurine home and was able to look it up, I realized that this is a Joseph's original, so I definitely was happy that I picked it up. These interesting animals tend to be fairly collectible. Another thing that I spotted in the game room was this vintage watering can. As you can see, this watering can has a speckled background and a flower on it. I definitely wanted this because I have a collection of planters with all of these different flower designs. This one still has its sticker on it, and you can see that it was made by Takahashi. This watering can is perfect for my collection, and it even works. It actually is good if you want to water a couple of small succulents. Another thing that I found in the finished basement was this Needlepoint Kit. This Needlepoint Kit had a ton of tapestry wool in it, which made me definitely want to pick it up. As you can see here, it says 100% pure wool, and the original tag on this says $32. This looks like an interesting floral design, but it's also worth it just for the tapestry wool. I was really surprised to come across one needlepoint kit by itself, so I knew I had to keep looking to see if I could find other fiber arts items. Even though there was a ton of collectible glassware at this estate sale, the prices were a little bit out of my budget, and very few of the items were actually things I personally collect. One of the things I did decide to get was this little Green Depression glass shot glass or whiskey glass. As you can see, it has an optic style on the inside, and I decided to get this because I have a very similar one already. I always like to get things in pairs when possible. As you can see, this little whiskey glass glows under the black light. That trick never gets old. As I continued to look, I spotted this lamp on the table. And even though I didn't have my black light, this definitely looked like Green Depression glass to me. The color is super recognizable. This is definitely an older hookup, and I love the etching here on the bottom. I loved this swirl around the base of the lamp, and it was just in really good condition. As you can see, this lamp also glows under black light, and if you can believe it, it works perfectly fine. This lamp wasn't marked, so I was hoping I would get a good deal on it. But when I went to pay, one of the other people working the estate sale said, "That lamp's $10. I don't know if I would have picked it up if I had known it was $10, but at that point, I was going to commit to buying it. I kind of feel like if items are going to be over $5, they should already be priced, but since there were so many things at this estate sale, clearly they missed a few. Another thing I picked up was this pretty painted mug. I liked the lavender style pattern here, but what was really cool about it was what was inside. As you can see, there is a little critter at the bottom of this mug. Isn't that adorable? You can see that this mug is signed on the bottom, although it's hard to make out the maker. Tucked inside the mug was this information card all about the critters. As you can see at the bottom, this was made by Granite Lake Pottery, and there's a whole story behind these interesting critters that ended up at the bottom of these mugs. Like a lot of things at this sale, the mug didn't look like it had ever been used, so why not pick it up? The last two pieces of glassware I found tucked away on the edge of a table, and they also weren't marked, which makes me a little bit nervous, but I had to get these two pieces. As you can see here, this is an adorable little stained glass train. I have a growing collection of thrifted stained glass, and I had to get this pretty little train. I love the colors of the train, and it was just really cool. It has a little tag on it that says Wolfboro, New Hampshire, so this was probably a souvenir item. Even better than this train was this super cool gumball machine. As you can see, this is a super colorful piece. I love the idea of using these little pieces in order to decorate and make a gumball machine. And of course, I love blue, so I love the colors of this gumball machine. I probably would have bought more of the stained glass if I could have predicted how much I would pay, but I'm really glad I got these two pieces. One of the many collections at this estate sale were playing cards. There were 2 boxes filled with collectible playing cards, and I decided to dig through them and see if I found anything that caught my eye. One of the things I decided to get was this Umbra capsule filled with playing cards. Inside the capsule are these pill-shaped playing cards. I thought they were really fun and interesting, and you can absolutely play a game with these interesting shaped cards. This is definitely a fun idea for a deck of playing cards. Definitely a good gift. Another thing I spotted in the box of playing cards was this tarot deck. I thought the box looked interesting. As you can see, it's got this card here, and as you can see on the side here, this was made in Italy and imported to San Francisco, and this is a limited edition deck. Here you can see that this deck looks like 190 out of 2,000. This is a reproduction deck made in the style of a deck that was available many centuries ago, so I just thought that was really interesting and worth picking up. As it turns out, this deck is also pretty collectible, so I'm glad I just decided to throw this in because it made me curious. As I mentioned earlier, I suspected that there was more fiber arts and needlework to be found at this sale, and I was right. I spotted this really cool embroidered and beaded piece. I liked the blue around the edges, and I don't think I have any pieces that have this beading. I thought this was really well done, and it was also finished well, and so I decided to add this to my growing pile. This was just such a pretty colorful piece. Another piece that I spotted was this hooked rug design. Because these pieces weren't marked, I wasn't sure about them at first, but as my pile continued to grow and grow, I decided to get this. This is a pretty floral design, and I just really liked that it was so well done, and then has this nice hanger on the top. As you can see, it says hand hooked by Flora, and it is from Nova Scotia. That little tag looked familiar to me, and that's because I found this little hooked rug bookmark in the bin sometime last year. As you can see, this was also made by Flora's. Tucked in a bag in one of the bedrooms, I found more cross-stitch items. I found the Norman Rockwell Museum Sampler, and as you can see, it's a complete kit with the fabric and the embroidery floss. I'm not sure if this is a pattern I actually want to do, but I found it with a few other items, and I decided to get them all. With that pattern, I also found this Rose Island Lighthouse. As you can see, this is Distinctive Designs, and this is also a complete kit with the fabric and the floss. I also found this bag with this needlework fabric, probably cross-stitch fabric. As it turns out, this is a larger size. It kind of looks like a quilt, and you could create a design on each panel. I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to do with it yet, but I feel like it may come in handy. I also found some sewing fabric, and I decided to get it. I like this blue color, and I thought it would come in handy for a tote bag or a mask, which are basically the two things that I know how to sew so far. As you can see, this fabric is from Cranston Printworks, and this was a pretty sizable amount of fabric, so I got it. I also got this medium blue fabric. These colors definitely give me those 80s and 90s vibes. And I got this huge amount of floral printed fabric. I think this will be really nice for a tote bag, and it's always good to get fabric when you can find it for reasonable prices. When you're adding this to a pile at an estate sale, it's usually a good deal. Even though I was happy with those finds, I was even more excited when I found a box underneath the table filled with glassware that had embroidery kits. I was so thrilled. The kit that caught my eye was this Elsa Williams crewel embroidery kit. One of the reasons I started thrifting last year was actually to look for crewel kits, and even though I have found a ton of cross-stitch and needlepoint kits, I find very few crewel kits, and I definitely wanted to find some Elsa Williams patterns. As you can see, this is a really cool blue iris design, and it has the printed design and all of the yarn. So exciting. Another kit that I found was this Christmas bow tie design. If you saw my Thriftmas in July video, you have already seen this, and I like that it has the old Michael stickers so you can see what it originally cost. I really like the houses and church patterns, so I think this will be fun to do in the winter. Another thing I picked up was this scroll frame. I liked that it was 4x8, which is a smaller size, and I thought it might come in handy. It's never been opened, so I added it to my pile. In the box, I found this beautiful finished cross-stitch piece. It looks like it was finished to fit inside a frame, although the frame was not in the box, but I just loved the colors and the detail on this piece. As you can see, someone finished it with felt on the back, and it is just so beautiful. I love the shading and the details on this floral arrangement, and of course the cute little butterflies and the bees. I dug around in the box to find a few other things that I wanted. I really wasn't sure what I would end up paying, so I didn't want to get things I wasn't going to use. I found these 4 canvas project bags. We have 2 hot pink ones and 2 black ones, and I thought these would come in handy either for cross-stitch projects, storing floss, or even just storing other random items. I also found this not quite completed strawberry cross stitch. You can see that it was mounted on the back, and here's the frame it was probably going to be put in, but it wasn't quite finished, so I decided to pick it up, and hopefully I will finish it. I also found this embroidery floss and a scissor case. As you can see, this is a Jan Lynn scissor case. I'm not a huge fan of this floral pattern, but I think it'll be fun to do a little piece of cross stitch here and store some scissors in this case. And of course, it doesn't hurt to find embroidery floss. I also found some Singer needles. These are always handy. A yarn threader, which also comes in very handy. This interesting tool, which is called Mechanical Fingers, and it helps you pick things up. I don't think it's necessarily a tool for embroidery or needlework, but I definitely thought it would come in handy. And you can see this was made in Japan. And the last thing I was excited to find was this set of crane scissors. You can still buy these crane scissors today, but this is an old school pair. You can hopefully see here that these were made in West Germany, which gives you an idea of their age. These will definitely come in handy. As you can see, it was definitely worth heading to this estate sale. I found a little bit of everything to fit my interests, hobbies, and collections. As I mentioned, the games were $5 a piece, and when I went to pay, the guy said that the lamp was $10. I ended up paying $30 for all of the random unmarked items, which is actually a pretty good deal. Leave a comment and let me know your favorite find from this estate sale. What would you have definitely picked up too? There were so many unique and collectible items at this estate sale. It was hard not to feel like I left something behind. Thanks for joining me for this estate sale haul. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and be sure to subscribe and click that bell so you don't miss any of my future estate sale videos. If you want to see what else I've picked up at estate sales, check out this playlist. Have a good one. Goodbye.